"We're selling Grandma's house, but you don't get a cent," my aunt said. I just nodded. A month later, the buyer called me. "Congrats, you're the new owner." At Thanksgiving, I watched them ring the doorbell. My aunt thought she had stolen my inheritance, my sanity, and my grandmother's legacy, but she never counted on the one person she couldn't manipulate: my grandmother herself, speaking to me from beyond the grave through a lifetime of carefully laid plans. The air in my late grandmother's living room was thick with the cloying scent of stale potpourri and simmering resentment. It was a smell I associated with Aunt Carol, my uncle's widow, who had always treated the family home as her personal fiefdom, especially in the last few years of Grandma Eleanor's life. We were all gathered for the reading of the will, or so Carol had claimed. My uncles, Robert and Stephen, sat stiffly on the floral sofa, their faces grim. My cousins shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. I stood by the fireplace, my fingers tracing the cool marble of the mantelpiece, the very spot where a photo of me and Eleanor had sat for 2 decades before it mysteriously vanished a month after her funeral. Carol stood before us, a sheaf of papers held in her hand like a verdict. She wore a severe black dress, her expression a practiced mask of somber authority. She had always been a performer. "As you all know," she began, her voice resonating with false gravity, "Eleanor's final years were difficult. I was the one here, managing her affairs, ensuring her comfort." She paused, letting her martyrdom hang in the air. "She entrusted me with her final wishes, and I intend to see them carried out to the letter." She cleared her throat and began to read from the document. It was a dry, legalistic litany of bequests, small sums of money to my uncles, a few pieces of jewelry to my female cousins. It was all procedural, expected. I waited, my heart a cold, heavy stone in my chest. I knew what was coming. I had been preparing for this moment for 6 months. My stillness was not one of shock, but of grim anticipation. It was the stillness of a soldier in a trench, listening for the whistle that signals the charge. Finally, she reached the main asset. "Regarding the house and the residual estate," she announced, her eyes flicking to me for a fraction of a second, a glint of triumph in them. "Eleanor's instructions are very clear. The property at 125 Willow Creek Lane is to be sold immediately. The proceeds, along with the remainder of her savings and investment accounts, are to be consolidated." Another dramatic pause. She was milking this for all it was worth. "As a recognition for my years of dedicated unpaid care, the entirety of the net estate is bequeathed to me. Carol Jensen." A collective gasp went through the room. Uncle Robert's head snapped up. "What? Carol, that can't be right. Mother would never—" "She loved the kids. She loved Chloe." Carol's gaze settled on me, oozing a sickly, sweet sympathy that was more insulting than any overt cruelty. "I know this is difficult to hear, Chloe, dear, but your grandmother was very specific. We had many long talks in her final months. She was disappointed. The word was a poisoned dart, aimed directly at my deepest insecurities. She felt you had become distant, that you were too wrapped up in your own problems." She didn't have to say it. My struggles with anxiety, the bout of depression I'd fought through after college, Carol had used them as a wedge between me and Eleanor for years, twisting my need for quiet space into an act of neglect. She folded the papers with an air of finality. "So, we're selling Grandma's house. But you," she said, her voice dropping, the faux sympathy replaced by a cold, hard finality, "don't get a cent." This was it, the villain monologue. The moment she believed she had won, that she had successfully erased me from my grandmother's life and legacy. All eyes in the room turned to me, expecting tears, an outburst. Full story on channel link below.